Hey guys, my name is Matthew, and this is my review of The Christmas Pig, written by J.K. Rowling. Here we go. Before we get into this, I'm going to answer the question in the thumbnail, but I do want to make sure that you understand the format of my reviews before we get there. In my reviews, I give a brief synopsis of the book, and then I list my observations of the book, starting with some of the things I enjoyed the most about the book, and then getting to a couple of things that I didn't enjoy as much. After that, I will answer the question in the thumbnail, and from there, I'll give my recommendation for the book. Who should buy it? Who should consider purchasing this book? The Christmas Pig is a really cute story. It's a story of parts. So the first part is all about kind of family drama. It introduces some pretty heavy topics like divorce and borderline bullying. And it moves through to an adventure that is, I don't know, a throwback to like the Velveteen Rabbit or Toy Story or something like it, where the toys kind of take on a mind of their own. It's a fun story, it's cute, it involves some adventure, and it's perfect for kids. Here's some of the things that I enjoyed the most about the book. I really loved the writing itself. J.K. Rowling is an expert writer. She does a really, really good job. And I love the way that she writes this story in a way that not only can capture the hearts of kids, but also of adults. So the writing style itself is very simplistic. It's easy to enjoy. I read this book to my 5-year-old and she loved it. Every single time we got to the end of a chapter, she'd go, one more chapter, one more chapter. Starting from the very beginning and going all the way through, she absolutely loved the book. And I did too. As an adult, I also enjoyed the book a lot. She's a very compelling writer, and I appreciate her writing style. The story itself was fantastic. It was a beautiful story. It was really cute. Like I said, it was engaging, so the writing is part of it, but the story itself was engaging as well. The story was really beautiful. It's cute. It involves Christmas and toys and kids, and who doesn't love all of those things? We're going to talk about the con side of this as well in a little bit, but I really appreciate some of the heavy subject matter that J.K. Rowling brings into this children's book. In the world that we live in, divorces and blended families, it's just a reality. There's a lot of divorce and loss and feeling lonely. There's some bullying type stuff that goes on, and I think that J.K. Rowling does a good job of approaching this in a way that is approachable for kids. It's not too heavy, but it doesn't skirt the heaviness of it. It's not like she's avoiding the issues. I think overall she approaches these subjects with tact, and I appreciate that. Another thing that I think that she does really, really well is she brings out the emotions and the emotions the characters are feeling just superbly. I think she's just written those characters. The way that they come alive out of the text is really, really excellent. So Jack is a main character. You really feel for Jack. You understand where he's coming from. There's another character named Holly. And again, you really feel for her. You understand where she's coming from. You kind of get it. She's just done a really good job of drawing those characters in a way that not only can I understand it, but also in talking with my daughter, she understood those things as well. I really loved the way that this book sparked a lot of great conversations between me and my daughter. And I really love the way that I got a chance to read and enjoy the story with her, and that she got a chance to ask questions and have concerns and be, why did this happen like this? There's a lot of opportunity in this book and the intentional writing style that J.K. Rowling does to create conversations between adults and children that I think can be really beneficial for growing relationships between people. So that's one of the things that I appreciated the most, is actually reading this book to my daughter. I really appreciated just having the conversation surrounding it. A couple things I didn't like as much about this book. One of them is it's marketed to children. So you're talking about like kids who are age 8 potentially could pick this thing up and read it. And I think reading wise, it's great for their level of reading. But as a parent, I had no idea that this was going to be dealing with some of the heavier issues that we talked about. Like I said, it was great when I was reading it to my 5-year-old because she got to ask questions. But if I had an 8-year-old and they just picked up the book for themselves and they didn't ask questions and I didn't know what was in the book, it's marketed as if it's just a fun story. And it's a fun story, but it's also a little deeper than that and touches on some heavy things. And so one of my primary issues with the book is the way it's marketed. I wish there was just some kind of trigger warning. I really had zero inclination. I had no understanding that there was going to be anything heavy. And so in chapter 2, when the main character's parents get a divorce, and it's kind of like, it took me off guard. And by chapter 7, there's some bullying. By chapter 5, 2 kids have had divorces. And those are all great things. I think it's awesome that they're in the book. I just wish that as a parent, I would have known those were coming up in the book based on reading the cover in some way. And there's really no indication that that's coming. Another thing I didn't love as much is the first section of the book. I mentioned before my daughter loved it, and so maybe this is a me thing, but I felt like it was a little bit of a slow start. So while the book, it was engaging the entire time, I felt like there was a lot of kind of drama that was leading up to the real story, and I felt like that was more prolonged than it needed to be. Now, I promise to answer the question from the thumbnail. In my reading of this book, I see no agenda, nothing that looks like transphobia, nothing that looks like an attack against the LGBTQ community. I literally, I would have a hard time even finding something, and I kind of was reading the book, you know, looking for this exact thing. I just didn't see anything, and I have seen some allegations that the book is, you know, attacking the LGBTQ community in some way. I just don't see that anywhere, and I have a hard time even seeing where someone could see that. So I think you can read this book if you're interested in reading J.K. Rowling stuff. If you want to read her stuff, I think you can read this book without an issue. Unless, of course, you're not wanting to support the author for your own reasons, and that's obviously up to you. But I do feel like the book itself is safe from those types of issues. Now, as far as who I recommend this book for, I do recommend this book pretty heavily. I think it's a fun read. I think it was enjoyable. It's a relatively long read for a book designed for children, but I don't think that's a problem, especially if you're reading this like for bedtime to a younger child, or even for an older child who enjoys reading. It's written simply, so I think they'll enjoy paging through this, similar to some of the Harry Potter books, which were maybe a little bit longer, but they were simple to read. She does a really good job at designing books in that way. And so I think this is a great gateway book, I think. One that is fun to read, that might get you interested in some other reads as well. If you are thinking about purchasing the book, I've left a link in the description that really helps out our channel a lot. If you click on that link, it'll take you over to Amazon. It doesn't cost you any extra to buy the book through that link, but it does kick back to our channel and helps us out. So this has been my review of The Christmas Pig by J.K. Rowling. If you've enjoyed this review, please feel free to like and subscribe. We put out new videos all the time with reviews and tidbits surrounding the book community. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, stay safe out there.